afternoon. Today I'm going to talk to you about my journey from ground zero to gratitude and gratefulness. Ground zero is defined as the center of origin of rapid and intense change, sometimes violent change. It's also defined as square one. And so, like I said, I'm going to tell you how I got to ground zero and how it became square one for me to launch a new life. It was fall of 2016, and I was going through a lot. First of all, I became an empty nester. Some of you might think, thank God, but for me, it was a sad time. My youngest went to college, and I was separated from a 24-year marriage, and it was a time where I was very lost and lonely. So my youngest leaving was very difficult on me. Well, for most of you that live down here, you realize in the fall of 2016, something else very devastating happened, called Hurricane Matthew. Well, Hurricane Matthew particularly liked me. I was in Colombia, evacuated, and I had a friend who had not evacuated. And so I had called and asked him if he could check on my house after Matthew had come through. So he called me on his way. He walked, and he said, I'm on the way to your house. I'm approaching it now. And I was on the phone with him just talking, and he said, oh, Elizabeth, I'm here. There are trees on top of your house. And I said, oh, well, Larry, there's a key hidden. Can you go in? And he said, sure. So I told him where the key was, and I waited in silence. I could hear him fumbling with the lock, and he opened the door. And this little weak voice came through, and a few sobs. And he said, my God, Elizabeth, your house is demolished. It's uninhabitable. I can't get beyond the foyer. And then his voice kind of faded away, and he just talked about, he said, the trees, my God, Elizabeth, the trees. And so I was homeless. But not to worry, there was hope. You see, my estranged husband came to my mother's house in Colombia, where I had evacuated to, and he told me, don't worry, we're going to go back, we're going to rebuild, everything's going to be okay. Whew, thank God. So we did come back, and we did start to not rebuild, because before you rebuild a house that's been demolished, you have to continue to tear the rest of it down. 8 days into it, I was surprised with divorce papers in front of my entire staff. And that is when I found myself at ground zero. I was broken, crushed. My knees actually buckled in the lobby. Oh, it was rough. So I thought, what am I going to do? And it was a long thought process, because I became very depressed, and within the next 14 months, I had to move 6 times. But I said, that's okay. I'm going to rebuild our family home, and I'm going to rebuild my life from scratch. And so in that, I got a phone call one day from a lady who I had done a story on in the magazine. And she invited me to lunch. And I said, I would go. I accepted, even though I didn't want to, because I rarely wanted to do anything at that time. And I certainly didn't want to get out of yoga pants, but I had to. And so I met her for lunch. And she decided to share her story with me of how she found herself at ground zero. And what she told me is she said, I pictured myself galvanized. I had to be strong. I had to be smart, Elizabeth. And so I became Galvanized Girl. And I thought, I can do this. I could be Galvanized Girl. I almost envisioned myself as a superhero. This was a way that I could feel protected and strong. And so I did. I became Galvanized Girl. But I didn't know what my superpower was. And so often I would think, I don't feel completely like a superhero because I still feel really bummed out on a daily basis, actually very depressed, and I don't know what my superpower is. Well, one day I was at my sister's house, and as I went to the stairs to go upstairs in her house, she had painted the rises of each of the fronts of the stairs with a quote. And so I stood at the bottom of the stairs and I read it. And this is what it said. What if you woke up tomorrow with only the things you were thankful for today? Ooh. I thought to myself, I would wake up with far, far less. And this is at a time where I truly believed I had been stripped of everything. And so right then, I realized many of the blessings that I had in my life. And reading that quote changed me. I realized at that moment that being grateful, gratitude, was my superpower. I started thinking about all the things I was thankful for. Little things, like a stove, like the sofa, like wine. My God, I was so thankful for wine. Yes, and grocery stores. I could just go buy wine. I didn't even have to grow grapes. It's amazing how getting really focused on being really grateful changes your whole life instantly. And not just for me. Gratefulness is everyone's superpower. Because that's how cool gratefulness is. It's that big. It can take bitterness and destroy it. Because you see, bitterness and being grateful can't exist at the same time. It is impossible to think about what you don't have at the same time for being grateful for what you do have. You can't do them both at the same time. Gratefulness can win every single time. In fact, if gratefulness came in a prescription bottle, this is what it would say. You could hold it up. Cures bad attitudes, arrogance, entitlement, inferiority, all that stuff that none of us really want in our life. I got interested in gratefulness because it had changed my life so much. So being who I am, I had to go on the internet and research, and lo and behold, there are scientific benefits to gratefulness across the board. It can help each one of us in every aspect of our life. So basically emotional, less stress, less anxiety, more resilience, happier, Health-wise, you can sleep better, you have more energy. Success-wise, people who are grateful tend to reach their goals way more often than those who are not. So today, before you came here, if you did not know this, I want you to go out with that one thing. All I have to do is shift from not seeing the good to seeing the good, and my whole life will change. So being Galvanized Girl really wasn't my superhero persona. It was being Grateful Girl. And it's completely changed my life. And today, it can change yours. I want you to take a minute and think about someone that you're thankful for. Now, you might get mad at that person, but you get what you focus on. You can look at the good in people, or you can look at that same person and find all their faults. It's completely up to you what you want to see in someone. Now I want you to think about something that you're grateful for. Maybe it's something you take for granted, like your bed. Imagine we get to sleep on a bed. Or having a man in your life that does a lot of laundry. Thank you, B. I never knew that. So with that, with your thoughts firmly in place of perhaps who and what you're thankful for, I want to leave you with one question today, and that is, what if you woke up tomorrow with only the things you were thankful for today? Thank you.